Hey there, family. Hope you are well. And today we continue with our discussion about equanimity from yesterday's session. And today we talk about the opposite of equanimity. So we talk about indifference versus equanimity. This is the 10% Happier Self-Care Journey. Today is March 18th, 2020. And if you don't know what 10% Happier is, that's an app of meditation courses by Dan Harris. Really good help. Really good app. Hey Jay, thanks for hanging out. Hope you're well. So the first thing I'm going to do, hey Carl, hope all is well. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm pasting the notes that I've written out for today's session in the chat. And so they're there now, and you can follow along. So today we talk about the opposite of equanimity. Indifference versus equanimity. So first thing is, let's go back over a quick definition of equanimity so we can get back up on that. Equanimity is balance that comes from seeing clearly and realistically, having a healthy perspective on change. Mental calmness, composure, and evenness of temper, especially in a difficult situation. Letting go of the need to control. And so we dove into this really deeply yesterday. If you didn't get a chance to see that, please check out the self-care journey session for yesterday. It was called Equanimity, the Secret Sauce. So equanimity is this balance. It's this mental calmness. It's something that I'm familiar with because for years it's been a part of my personality. I would say that, maybe due to like some exposure and education that I got in my childhood, it opened me up to be a person, to be pretty balanced, to have empathy for people, to not be assumptive or presumptuous about things. You say, thanks for hanging out, bro. Hope all is well. How's the music going, man? Hey, Dane, I just saw your icon. Thanks for hanging out. So this, equanimity is something that I've been used to personally in my life. I want to even say like it's one of my strengths, right? That kind of balance. I never knew it was called equanimity, so that's pretty cool learning about that in this time. But I know about that balance. I know about that balance because anytime I'm dealing with something challenging with someone, I'm always stopping to think about what they might be going through that's causing them to be the way that they are, if they're giving me some kind of angst or some kind of, dissonant, reaction or emotion or what have you. And that allows me, as I'm thinking about them and their situation, it allows me not to get upset. It allows me to have some balance. So I know about this thing. So let's talk about the opposing, aspect of equanimity, the opposite. This is indifference. Mark Robinson, thanks for hanging out. Indifference. Let's talk about the definition of indifference. A lack of interest, concern, or sympathy. Indifference is the trait of lacking interest, concern, sympathy, or enthusiasm in things. When you feel indifference for something, you neither like it nor dislike it. And so that's new for me in learning that indifference means that you just don't care either way, and I think a lot of us know people like this or have been in situations where people have been very indifferent. Like they don't give a damn, neither here nor there. Sometimes that's okay. I was talking to somebody about this the other day with a close relative of mine who has that kind of personality about a lot of things. And I was telling them that, sometimes that's okay because if it's something that you can see turning into an argument or turning into some kind of disagreement, if the person doesn't care either way about the subject, then it allows you to drop it. But then there are other times when it deeply matters because you have somebody that's indifferent towards something where you need them to care. Like there's so many places where that's important. But that's what indifference is. If you are a person who feels a lot of indifference, you probably say, a lot. You just don't care much. Indifference can be compared to apathy, which means lack of concern. Though apathy is a little stronger. Apathy means you don't care whether your friends call you Indifference means you don't care what movie you end up seeing, and you don't have a strong preference for any of the choices. So one just goes a bit deeper than the other. Hey Roy, thanks for hanging out. Hope you are well. Hope everybody's doing well today. And so, yeah, if you're a person, or if you know someone that's kind of like, they just don't care either way. I mean, I have to say, for the most part, that type of personality can be really annoying for a person like myself, because almost anything that I talk about or bring up, as you all can see just from how I do these kind of videos and other things, like, there's depth to everything for me. I'm interested in talking about the deeper depths of everything. So to talk to a person who's indifferent most of the time about most things, I kind of don't have much room in my world for that kind of personality, and like, I love all people, but I'm just like, yeah, we might not be hanging out too much. We might not be having too many conversations, because that's kind of annoying, to have someone that's indifferent. But there are a lot of things that make us indifferent. Sometimes we can feel indifferent when we've been in situations where our feelings haven't mattered. Think about this. Let me know if you can relate to this, because there are some places where I guess you could say I've been indifferent to things at times, not much, but as I'm thinking my way through this, there have been times when if I knew my feelings didn't matter, then it can kind of make me be like, I don't really care either way, because I feel like it doesn't matter how I feel. So indifference is a trait that's pretty nonchalant. Hey Jasmine, thanks for watching. Let me know if you all can hear me clearly as well. So equanimity, mental calmness, composure, evenness of temper, and a deep caring, but you're letting go of the need to control. Indifference, a lack of concern altogether. You don't care either way. Equanimity is spacious, open, caring, and warm. Indifference is cold, non-caring, and nonchalant. This would be a really good way to sum it up. Now here's the tricky thing. From the outside, they may look the same, but internally, they are worlds apart. So if you were telling me something right now that you cared about, or that was, deep for you, maybe it really impacted you in a deep way, where it didn't make you feel so good. And I sat there with this kind of, expression, like, you can't really tell what I'm thinking. But the funny thing is, I could either be having equanimity right now, where I'm hearing what you're saying, I'm really taking it in, I'm not interrupting you, I care, maybe you're distraught and I'm not trying to add to that, so I'm keeping it pretty cool. I could be being a good listener, and as well as, I could just be taking it in and really care, really think about like, wow, this is what you're going through. I could have that same exact expression, that same kind of blank expression, and be indifferent, where I'm just like, I don't really give a damn. I'm just not saying anything, but I just don't care. So they can look very similar, but they are worlds apart. Equanimity is spacious, open, caring, and warm. Indifference is cold, non-caring, and nonchalant. The opposite of equanimity is reactivity, which in this case is described as attachment, and aversion. A cycle of both holding on and pushing away, clinging to what we want to keep, and having anger or fear for what we don't. So that's like another direct opposite of equanimity. The problem with this mentality is that, and this is a tricky one, because it's, as a individual who has natural reactions, it's hard to avoid this. And sometimes, you don't really need to avoid it. It's not harmful. It's just normal. You just have to know when it becomes harmful for you. So we have a natural inclination, a natural disposition to cling on to the things that we want to keep and that mean a lot to us, and to push away from the things that we don't. the beautiful thing about equanimity, which is finding that balance, is when you can hold on to something but not have a need to control it. Let's just take loved ones, for example. You cherish your loved ones, you hold on to them, you hold them dear. They mean a lot to you. You don't want them to go anywhere. So you cherish them. You hold them pretty close. If something's going on with them, it bothers you, that kind of thing. But then you also know that at some point you won't have that relative anymore. They may pass on, or you might not be near them. You may not live in the same place as them. You might not talk to them as much. Or things change for you to where you don't see them. And that ability to love them, care for them, but at the same time, if and when things change, it doesn't really tear you up. Like, it may affect you, but it doesn't end your life or ruin your life, because you have that balance of knowing that everything is temporary, and that as much as you hold on, you're letting go as well, is another way of having acceptance and love for that person or for that situation. That's the balance of equanimity. And you can pretty much use that to apply to anything: a job, a car, a pet, a business, your own health, like everything. It's that balance of cherishing it while at the same time not over-investing to where when it's gone or when it changes, where it really screws you up because you're too overly attached to it. And then same thing with things that you don't want, the pushing away. At some point, a lot of us are going to attain some kind of sickness or something, and it be our demise. Like, that's just life. It's not pretty, But the thing is, the more acceptance that we can have around things like that, the more we can be able to deal with things when the inevitables happen, I believe in not just resting in peace, but living in peace. And I felt for a long time that this was the way to live in peace, to have that balance in the middle. One of the things that I talked about yesterday at length in my word of the day subject, which was teleology, which is the looking through the lens of seeing things as design. It's like the teleological argument is the argument from design. And I was just talking about how, we have these kind of attachments to things. But I realized for a long time, we had a lot of our philosophical, religious, and spiritual traditions were pushing us more towards expectation over acceptance, because of the fact that expectation is a healthy thing when you have reason to expect. Optimism is great when you have a reason to believe that things are going to change. But I realized during the times when it's not the case, it harms us, because the path or the philosophy or the theology hasn't prepared us as much for acceptance. And the only kind of acceptance that is prepared us for is acceptance of a particular expectation, but that always keeps us overly attached to things. So I learned a long time ago, just from my own exploration, that equanimity and that balance of being able to be with things but not be overly attached was the way to be. Meditation allows us to feel pleasure and pain without attachment to either state. This balance is the state of equanimity. Sometimes, and one more thing I want to say about that, that's really important, is that, and I think it's getting ready to actually, this is getting ready to be the next point, but it's another aspect of it. Sometimes we can look at that as passiveness or naivete, to be in the midst of pleasure or pain and not be overtaken by either way, that even kill middle ground. But it's not being naive, it's not tuning out, it's not tapping out, it's just acceptance, So here's the point, and this right here will be the take-home point for this, another way of summing it all up. Sometimes we can feel that we will move into helplessness when we accept things as they are. However, acceptance helps us to rid ourselves of resentment that keeps us bound. We realize that we can't make everyone happy or fix everything in life, but our intention is to include rather than exclude. to empathize with everyone's desire to be happy and the daily ups and downs of life that they face just like us. It's just that room, that space, that balance, that openness, that embracing, that acceptance. And yeah, this is equanimity. Equanimity versus indifference. So one of the things I want to do to end out this session is, first of all, I want to get your thoughts. So please drop a comment, of any sort, whether you agree, whether you can relate, whether you have a different way of looking at it. I'm curious as to what your thoughts are about this, or if it's helped you or made you think about something. And last but not least, we're going to do what I call the 30-second meditation technique, which is 3 deep breaths and 10 seconds of mindfulness. And we'll do it around this particular topic today. So you don't have to be in the ideal place to do this. You could be anywhere, because you could take 3 deep breaths anywhere you are, because air is everywhere you are. So with that, I'm going to actually settle in, and I'll close my eyes, but you don't have to. And we're just going to take a minute just to take all of this in and to just understand the difference between equanimity and indifference. One of the things that is a very helpful phrase or statement to say to even practice this is something like, may I accept things as they are. And to just allow that to just kind of settle, just to focus on that thought or allow for that thought to be there. And then another statement that we could direct towards others is, I will help you, but I can't fix everything for you, or I can't remove suffering from you. I can't change the way that you think or that you feel. So with that, we're just going to take 3 deep breaths in and out. We're going to take long inhales through the nose and long exhales. So let's take a deep breath in and out. Let's take a second deep breath in and out. And right before we take this last breath, let's just remember that taking a deep breath is not only calming, but it helps us to de-escalate, to slow our heart rate down, to feed our body and our brain oxygen, and just to settle in and to start to develop this sense of space and balance. So let's take a deep breath in and out. So may we work to accept things as they are, and to know that we'll offer as much as we can to others, while still knowing that we can't fix the world and that we can't change ultimately what people think, feel, or do. That's it for today's session. I appreciate you all, as always, for hanging out. What's up, Doc? Hey, man, thanks for the love on the organ video, man. That means a lot. And if you all didn't get a chance to see it, I had my first Hammond organ recording on a project the other day. I've recorded software organ, for those that are familiar with like software instruments, but to play on a live recording, not a live recording, but to play organ on an actual recording was a lot of fun. So check that out. I think you all will get some good entertainment out of that. And other than that, as always, peace and be well. And join me in about 5 minutes for the word of the day. Take care. Peace.